News Radio 700 WLW.
Here we are, prime summer vacation season. And, you know, if you haven't looked at going to a hotel, maybe you think, you know, I've got a weekend to burn. I got a week to burn a vacation. Let's take the kids down to whatever, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head or some such.
Right. Well, and
good luck with that.
Well, and it's, you know, we haven't been able to travel for 2 years, right, because of COVID.
Absolutely.
And people don't want to deal with all that mess. So people are primed and ready to get out there. And number one, gas is over $5 a gallon. And now it looks like the hotel prices are just, I mean, here, reading a report right here, across the United States, up around 33% coast to coast. That's a big number.
Well, here we have our guest, which brings us to our good friend Sarah Buxbaum. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
So, Sarah, you're a hospitality expert, CWS Hospitality. You've been doing this for years, and customer service expert. What do you attribute this to? I was telling a story the other day. A couple of years ago, well, it was during COVID, granted, but my wife and I did a weekend away, and we stayed at one of the best hotels in a city right around Cincinnati, and it was about, I think it was $80 a night, and I'm not kidding. And I looked at that.
No, I know.
I looked at that the same hotel a couple of days ago, and now it's $300 a night.
Wow.
I mean, did they add like gold fixtures or
personal butlers?
Right, or there is a butler now that I missed before.
I wonder the same thing. It's funny you said that because during COVID, I traveled a lot as well. My business is in Nashville, and there were times where I stayed on Broadway in Nashville for, you know, $59 a night, and that same hotel is now $5.99 a night.
Yeah,
it is the wildest thing, but it's like everything, you know. Gas is up, food is up, labor is up, taxes are up. So these businesses are trying to run and with, you know, try to just keep their doors open. Right. And unfortunately, they're going to price people out. I mean, who can afford this, honestly?
So in your opinion, is it a combination of other things that are making their price and what it costs them to do business higher, so then they transfer that to us? Or, Sarah, is it that, hey, look, they went through a 2-year stretch there where no one was staying, no one was going to hotels, and they're trying to make some of that money back up?
It's a mix of both, honestly. Credit card processing fees have gone up tremendously over the last year. And we all pay for our hotels with a credit card because you have to for deposits and everything. So the hotels now have a huge new expense in addition to making up for, like you said, everything they lost over the last 2 years. And then the price of that free breakfast that comes with your room isn't really free. Now it's costing them so much money. And it's just a domino effect all the way, down to labor shortages. They're not getting enough people to work. They have to, businesses are struggling more than ever before.
Sarah, it's funny you mentioned about the interest rates on the credit cards, because I feel like I'm seeing more and more places offer a cash discount, right? Where, you'll get, you save 5% if you pay cash.
Oh, yeah,
because these credit cards, the rates are so high. But that's interesting because we also live in a world where I don't know if people under the age of 35 even carry cash anymore. So it's kind of an odd dynamic here.
It is. It's really interesting because the younger generation right now has the biggest influence because they're on social media and they talk good or bad about businesses. And so we're trying to we're trying to make them happy because they're going to post about it on social media if they're not happy, but then they don't have cash to come by. I've seen people trying to do Venmo now because that's what the younger generation wants. Venmo, Apple Pay, things like that. I know Apple's trying to compete in the credit card processing space for businesses who use that. People are getting creative, but it's unfortunate. It's summertime. We want to go travel, and we've been locked up, and now no one can afford it.
Well, and that's the thing. And Sarah, don't you think this is going to drive up the price? Because honestly, my wife and I, when we travel, and when it's not like we travel every weekend or anything like that, but when we do, we stay in an Airbnb. Now, we have a son that lives in Chicago, so we've been up there a few times, and we've stayed in some, not super deluxe places, but a nice little apartment, nice one-bedroom apartment, and say it costs 130, 140 bucks a night. It ain't the Ritz, but it's livable and it's just fine. Now, trying to stay in the same area where my son lives is, again, we're talking $250, $300 a night for a room with a bed in it. That's insane to me.
It is. And I actually have an Airbnb in Nashville, and it's, obviously I promote small business. I love small business owners trying to, step up to the plate and beat out the big box, beat out Hilton, get the people in your business. And even those fees have gone up, the processing fees for the Airbnb. So you will see a rise in Airbnb. Cleaning costs have gone up tremendously because the cleaning products are in such a demand right now, and we need it. We all want a 5-star, super clean Airbnb, but now you're paying more to clean the house. The labor is super, super short. I mean, it's a huge problem in the Airbnb community. So I'm pushing for the Airbnbs and the VRBOs and all those short-term rentals. I hope that they can figure out a way to grab some of this market that can't afford to spend, hundreds of dollars for a bed at the Best Western.
Right. Well, let's say that the cleaning costs and all that kind of level out a little bit. What do you see 10 years from now, Sarah, in terms of where people are going to stay? I just, as someone who's, me and my wife, the last couple times we've traveled, that's the only place we go is Airbnbs because they're so much nicer. You're not paying for parking. There's a parking space. You have like a whole room. There's a refrigerator.
You've got a kitchen.
I'm like, why would anybody stay at a hotel anymore? So 10 years from now, do you see the Airbnb world really putting a humongous dent in the hotel industry, or do you think it'll still survive?
I do. I mean, that's why I have one, because I think that is the long-term goal is, let's be, especially now with customer service, because now people are paying more and getting less, they're going to be more excited to go to an Airbnb and support a local, husband and wife team who's renting out their house on the weekends or whatever the story is. And I think that there's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs and for people from both sides, so the consumer and the business owner, to explore these, create a 5-star experience and beat out the competitors of these huge big box companies, because everyone thinks that they don't stand a chance. I mean, I got so much backlash. How are you ever going to compete against the Sheraton and the Westin and this? Because I can provide amazing customer service that they can't. They don't have the staff. I really think that, Airbnbs are going to be huge.
Our guest is Sarah Buxbaum. And Sarah, talking about the Airbnb experience, something that my wife has run across, and she's going to be in Florida next week, is it's basically car rental Airbnb. Yeah. Have you heard about this? I had not heard of this.
I have. I actually use Turo pretty frequently when I travel because, again, I choose to support someone who is renting out their own car to make their bills paid than Enterprise. I'd rather support that. And I love that. I love that business model. The problem is, not everybody is a good person. So it's a little bit more risky. So read the reviews, check the reviews, make sure they didn't just create that account last night. Let's all go back to supporting the people who really need the money right now.
Right. And there was a guy, I read a story not too long ago. And speaking of this, a guy, I want to say it was around Tampa. It was in Florida, I believe, but regardless. And his neighbors were complaining because he went and bought like 10 cars that he had parked all over, up and down his street. So they couldn't park on their street. Nobody could. If they had friends come over, there was like, I'm sorry, my Jeep is parked there. And I'll take it. What they do is they take it to the airport. They give you a code, and they prepay parking and all that stuff. Am I correct there, Sarah? And you go there and just boom, you pull out of the parking lot and away you go.
I wouldn't trust somebody with my car though. I wouldn't trust somebody with my house, but I definitely wouldn't with my car. I don't know.
What they're doing is going and buying a bunch of cars. They're buying themselves their own little fleet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, there's a fine line. I mean, I really think that people need to be respectful of their neighborhoods, and they need to be respectful of their neighbors and their community, and not go open up a car dealership in the middle of a suburban
Which is kind of
neighborhood.
Of course, there's always going to be that guy.
Yes. So we don't want to support that. We definitely want to, support respectful business owners and people trying to do things in an ethical and honest way. And I don't agree with that. It's the same way with Airbnbs. I don't agree that we just destroy all the neighborhoods across the country and make everything an Airbnb. I don't think that's the right answer either. But in moderation, in the right areas, with respect to everyone else around you, I love it. I mean, I never used Turo until during COVID. And just because I knew how much I was suffering as a small business owner, and I saw the rental prices go up, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend $1,000 to rent a car at budget.
Right.
And so I started looking into Turo, and I've always had an amazing experience with it. It's cool. The person walks out, they give you your keys. It's a cool experience that I think, especially, the probably under 40 crowd is really open to. I know
they've got it figured out.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to go up to some stranger's house and rent their car from them. It's weird, and it kind of is, but it's just like an Uber. I mean, we grew up our whole life, don't get in a car with a stranger, and now that's how we all get around.
I mean, nothing makes sense. Yeah, don't get in a car with a stranger.
Right.
Don't trust someone who has a mask on. Don't go into a bank with a mask on.
We live in a different world.
We do. So it's like, let's look at the silver lining here. There's a lot of bad stuff going on right now, and what can we all do to make it a little bit better and more fun and interesting? And it's cool. I love it that more people are talking about Turo and Airbnb and stuff.
So, Sarah, while we have you on the phone here, there was a thing I saw today that you were cited and that we were sent, talking about, and just real quickly, can you comment on this 2-story Taco Bell that is basically all automated? Oh, gosh.
I mean, if you've heard me on the radio or social media before, you know how much I hate robotic anything. I like people. I think people like people. People want to be greeted with a smile. I talk about Chick-fil-A all the time. It's an experience that I don't think is going to make it. I mean, how frustrated are we all now calling our bank and having to push 0 a million times just to get help? Imagine that at a drive-through. You're on. It's too automated. It's not. I don't like it. I think it's going to be a fad.
All right. With that, Sarah, we will let you go. People can check you out at celebratewithsarah.com. We must have you back. Because
anytime, give me a call.
Everybody loves to talk about customer service, and it's hardly ever good.
Uh-huh. Exactly, and I'm trying to make it good again.
All right, good. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.